Llangollen, Denbighshire, North Wales, renowned for its beautiful rolling hills and the River Dee. It's a close-knit town relying heavily on the tourist industry. With only a population of less than 3,000, it's impossible to not be noticed in the tiny town. So how is it possible for 52-year-old Trevaline Evans to mysteriously disappear without a trace in broad daylight on a busy, sunny Saturday afternoon? Trevaline was born Monday, 6th of September, 1937. She had a relatively normal upbringing in the quaint little town of Llangollen and was happily married to her love, Richard Evans, bearing a son in their late teens, early 20s, and was a doting grandmother to her grandchildren, both doing well financially, owning a holiday bungalow home in Rutherland and then purchasing an antique shop in 1989 called Attic Antiques on Church Street, a mere 5-minute walk from her home on Market Street. The Evans family were very well known and liked throughout the community of Llangollen, so when the news got round that Trevaline Evans mysteriously disappeared without a trace, it shook and perplexed the community of Llangollen. On the day Trevaline was reported as missing, North Wales Police promptly began an investigation, deeming her disappearance as suspicious. Her family was interviewed along with the community to piece together the timeline of events. It was a sunny Saturday, 16th of June, 1990, and Trevaline Evans arrived at Attic Antiques before 9:30 a.m. in her dark blue Ford Escort estate, parking the car only a mere 200 yards away, and then proceeded to open the shop at 9:30 a.m. Trevaline visited Dora and Olsen's convenience store purchasing some milk at around 10 a.m. Returning to the antique shop where a long-time friend of 11 years, Christine Burdett, came to visit her for a morning chat and to gift her friend a bouquet of flowers. Christine claimed that she was happy, she looked fit, and she had lots of plans of things she was going to do. It wasn't until 11:10 a.m. when Christine would see Trevaline for the last time, returning to the shop to remind Trevaline about the party that they had been invited to on the weekend. Christine claimed Trevaline was thrilled to be going and really wanted to go. Between 9:30 a.m. and 12:40 p.m, an inquiry revealed Trevaline had approximately 25 friends and visitors that morning. Trevaline was seen leaving and locking up the antique shop at 12:40 p.m, leaving a handwritten sign taped to the door that read, "Be back in 2 minutes." She was then sighted crossing the road near Castle Street, and was then confirmed purchasing an apple and a banana from a shop near Castle Street, a 4-minute walk from Church Street at 1 p.m. It's not clear what she did for 16 minutes, perhaps spent browsing the shop and talking to an employee who served her. For the next hour and a half it is completely unknown what Trevaline did. She was sighted at 2:30 p.m. near her own home on Market Street. She was never seen entering or leaving the property, and this was the last ever confirmed sighting of Trevaline Evans, and the case remains shrouded in mystery. Although 2:30 p.m. was the last confirmed sighting near her home on Market Street, there were 2 more unconfirmed sightings as well. At 2:35 p.m, a woman matching Trevaline's description was seen leaving Market Street on the A5 towards Corwin near Riverside Park, and then the final unconfirmed sighting was at 3:45 p.m. at Park Avenue, which is only a 4 to 5 minute walk from Riverside Park. They began the investigation with the search of the antique shop, immediately finding the sign Trevaline left for her customers on the front of the door. Inside, the police found Trevaline's untouched belongings, her handbag, car keys, jacket, and the bouquet of flowers Christine Burdett gave to Trevaline, and a singular banana peel discarded in the bin. After the search of Attic Antiques, the North Wales Police began an extensive investigation into the town of Llangollen. The North Wales Police Force spent thousands of man-hours investigating the suspicious case during 1990. The resulting investigation turned into the biggest missing persons inquiry in North Wales history. The family distributed missing person flyers of Trevaline all over the town. Police took over 300 statements, 1,500 names were checked, 685 cars were checked, and every home in and around Llangollen area was checked, revealing some interesting witness accounts into Trevaline's disappearance. On the 16th, the day of Trevaline's disappearance, a witness driving past the antique shop at 6 p.m. reported that she saw a suspicious man standing outside of the shop, and reports she believes she saw the door to the shop open, but wasn't 100% sure. On the 14th, at 9:15 a.m, Trevaline was seen outside her shop conversing with 2 men, a younger male said to be in his 30s wearing a modern outfit, a black blazer with the sleeves rolled up, and his hair appeared to be gelled. The older male of the 2 looked to be about 65 years of age, grey hair, and wore a casual outfit, an aquamarine sweat jumper paired with a paisley tie. Neither men have ever come forward. On the 15th, witnesses claimed that they saw Trevaline with a 5'10", stockily built, distinguished man who had brown hair turning grey, wore a dark suit and carried a black briefcase in his left hand. Some speculate this could have been the same man from the day before, on the 14th. He has not come forward either. Curiously, Trevaline was seen at 8:15 a.m. on the same day standing under the doorway to a cafe on Castle Street by two locals, David and Irene Pond. She seemed to be waiting for someone with a piece of paper in her hand. The investigation continued throughout the coming weeks and months, searching the River Dee, Llangollen Canal, and all the mines in the area, but by September of 1990, the case was considered a murder inquiry, and was then featured on the BBC's Crime Watch show to try and garner more attention. By September, Richard put up a £5,000 reward for any information that could lead to the location of his wife. The case was featured on an update episode of BBC's Crime Watch that same month, revealing a witness spotted the same mysterious man in Gale's wine bar, and Trevaline may have been spotted in the same bar with him. An artist's rendition of the mysterious man was featured on the Crime Watch episode and distributed throughout Llangollen. The drawing unfortunately brought no one forward. Over the years after she disappeared, there have been numerous supposed sightings of Trevaline, including London and France, with Interpol investigating the assumed sightings. She was even supposedly sighted in a remote town in Australia. In 1992, someone claiming to be a spiritualist medium was convinced Trevaline was somewhere in the woodland of the World's End area. A search was conducted and revealed nothing. Just a year later, in 1993, sniffer dogs were used to search the Llangollen Canal bank after a woman wrote to police stating that she had been overwhelmed by a feeling that Trevaline was nearby. Once again, nothing was found. No more leads or evidence to look into. The case went cold. By all accounts, Trevaline had every intention of returning to the shop that evening. All of her friends corroborate that Trevaline was happy and wasn't acting strange that day. And the sign she left, along with all of her belongings inside the shop, all imply she was returning, and the singular banana peel could potentially suggest that she did return to the shop at some point. However, the banana peel isn't guaranteed to be the same banana she purchased that evening. And if she did return, how was she never seen heading towards the shop or entering? It was clear that Trevaline met with foul play. The North Wales police certainly thought so, stating so on the BBC's Crime Watch. But if she didn't, why weren't any of her belongings collected, or why didn't she withdraw any money? There seemed to be no reason for her to leave. She was happy. There was no reports of money, family, or marital issues, and was even making plans for the weekend with her friends. There weren't even any other suspects except for the two men and the mysterious man, which the police had no leads on. When the Evans family were interviewed, it was revealed that Trevaline was away from the 11th of June to the 13th of June in her holiday bungalow home in Rutland with her husband, Richard Evans, who supposedly stayed behind at the bungalow to renovate the holiday home. Richard tried to call their home during the time Trevaline was missing to check up on her. When he didn't get it through to her, he called the neighbour to check the shop. When the same neighbour revealed to him that the shop was locked and a sign stated, "She'll be back in 2 minutes," and her car was still parked only 200 yards away, Richard, worried for his wife's safety, promptly called the police and reported Trevaline as a missing person. In 1990, Richard appeared on BBC's Crime Watch episode with his son, Richard. He claimed she was happy, she liked to work up there, she liked the garden. In reference to their time in Rutland, it was clear that the North Wales police had no reason to suspect Richard in 1990, until 2001. 11 years after Trevaline disappeared, the case was reopened as a murder inquiry. Police hoped new investigative techniques would bring about new leads and new evidence. This investigation was primarily focused on the last known movements of Trevaline. The artist's rendition of the mysterious man was disregarded as inaccurate by this point, and husband Richard Evans, 72 at the time, was arrested on 29th of June 2001 and taken in for questioning at Wrexham Police Station to help with inquiries into the investigation. The 2001 reinvestigation of the case was unsuccessful. Unfortunately, no new evidence or leads were generated, and Richard Evans was later released on police bail. The case became inactive once more. On the 20th anniversary of Trevaline's disappearance in 2010, the case was reinvestigated, and Superintendent Steve Gold of North Wales Police said, "Investigations such as these are never closed. Unless we establish exactly what occurred and obtain sufficient evidence against individuals to mount a prosecution, who would ask anyone with information which may assist the investigation to contact North Wales Police. Richard Evans declined to make a comment on the 20th anniversary of his wife's disappearance. Then, a year later, in 2011, the North Wales Police began investigating possible links between serial killer Robin Liggis and the disappearance of Trevaline Evans. Robin Stanislaw Liggis was born in Shrewsbury, Shropshire in 1952. By 1994, the 42-year-old Robin Liggis murdered 75-year-old Robert Young in his home during the burglary of Young's home in his hometown of Shrewsbury. Robin wasn't convicted until 1996, and the then 44-year-old killer was sentenced to life in prison. 15 years later, in 2011, Liggis was charged with the murders of 3 more people: 36-year-old Bernard Chezuker, 53-year-old Trevor Bradley, and 57-year-old Brian Coles, was only convicted for Trevor and Bradley's murder. The reason Liggis was looked into having a possible connection to Trevaline's disappearance is because Liggis was active around the same time of her disappearance. He lived only 30 miles away from Llangollen, and one of his victims was an antique dealer like Trevaline. But in early 2012, the police eventually ruled out any and all possible connection between Robin Liggis and the disappearance of Trevaline Evans. The same year, Robin Liggis was convicted for the murders of Trevor and Brian. 47-year-old Christopher Halliwell was convicted for the abduction and murder of 22-year-old Sian O'Callaghan from Swindon, Wiltshire, and was then convicted for the murder of 22-year-old Rebecca Godden-Edwards in 2016. Following his second conviction, Detective Superintendent Sean Memory said Halliwell may have killed others. There's an 8-year gap between the murders of Sian and Rebecca, and police hardly believe that Halliwell stopped for that long. And in the northwest area, there were 3 unsolved murders between 1988 and 1994 that bore striking similarities to Halliwell's murders. 31-year-old Linda Donaldson in October of 1988, 26-year-old Maria Cristina Requena in January of 1991, and 23-year-old Julie Findlay in August of 1994. All 3 murders spanned the time frame in which Trevaline disappeared. Halliwell only lived 39 to 41 minutes away from Llangollen in Northern Park. Witnesses claim that Halliwell was a window fitter in North Wales around the same time and was released from prison from finishing his sentence in 1987 for burglary of an antique store. As of November 2021, police are currently keeping an open mind about Halliwell's possible links to Trevaline, and retired police intelligence officer Chris Clark has suggested Christopher Halliwell should be considered a possible suspect, but is currently not being investigated. Finally, there's an online claim from an individual who believes that the police at the time of Trevaline's disappearance suspected Peter Moore, dubbed the Man in Black, had something to do with Trevaline. Peter Moore was a British serial killer who managed cinemas in Baghilt, Holyhead, Kinmel Bay and Denbigh, North Wales. He was convicted in 1996 for stabbing 4 men to death and mutilating their bodies for fun. In 1995, Peter's victims were 56-year-old Henry Roberts in September, 28-year-old Edward Carthy in October, 49-year-old Keith Randalls in November, and 40-year-old Anthony Davis in December. And over a 20-year period, Peter committed 39 sex attacks on men in North Wales and the Merseyside area. The online theory states that local sources seem fairly confident that Peter Moore could be involved. He had a psycho-type thing with his mother. Evans was his mum's age group. He knew Llangollen and regularly sold antiques into shops around the area, but would not have been well known enough that if someone had seen him they would have known who he was. Reports of police suspecting Peter Moore at any point during Trevaline's disappearance could not be found. Once again, the case became inactive for another 7 years, until the case received any more attention in 2019, and it came in the form of an interesting report from brothers Andy and Lee Sutton, who were convinced that new circumstantial evidence, a video from an underfloor inspection camera, proves Trevaline was buried beneath the floorboards of the Rutherland Golf Club. After Sutton brothers passed on what they had found to the North Wales Police, they promptly dug up the floor of the Rutherland Golf Club on the 19th of March 2019 and found no trace of any body under the golf club. Bizarrely, the Sutton brothers are adamant Trevaline was buried under the floorboards. The most unusual development, however, was in late 2019 and early 2021. A mysterious tribute plaque was spotted in honour of Trevaline Evans on one of several benches 30 miles away from Llangollen along a coastal walkway. It read, "In memory of Trevaline Evans, vanished 16/06/1990. Found, Rutherland, GC, 14/03/2019. Removed, 19/03/2019. RIP. The plaque was defaced and finally removed a few weeks later. Curiously, no one knows who put the plaque up and why it's so far away from Trevaline's hometown. Also, the inscription suggests that Trevaline's body had been found in Rutherland Golf Club a whole 5 days before police dug up the golf club, assuming GC stands for Golf Club. Who made this memorial plaque? Why is it on a coastal walkway bench so far away from Trevaline's hometown? Why does the plaque state she was found in the golf club 5 days before police even dug up the club? And why does it state she was removed when nothing was found? A theory suggests Trevaline was lured by the mysterious man with the promise of buying or appraising his antiques, and instead she met with foul play. I believe this is the most reasonable theory and is the most likely scenario, as the mysterious man wasn't known by the locals and still hasn't come forward to aid the police's investigation. Another theory suggests she may have had a mild or mini stroke or was in a fugue state, explaining why her actions were so peculiar. One even suggests that she could have been in the forested area in Llangollen. However, the area in and around Llangollen were thoroughly searched, including the woodland areas, and nothing was found. This case is a very strange one. With the amount of suspects and interviews made and the small, close-knit town she lived in, one would assume she would have been found by now, or information regarding her movements after 3:45 p.m. would have surfaced. For after almost 32 years, there is still no information on her movements after 3:45 p.m. I personally want to take a look at the suspect in question. Robin Liggis has already been ruled out by the police along with Richard Evans. Peter Moore never seemed to be even thought of as a suspect in 1990, and he specifically targeted middle-aged men, and this would break his MO entirely. And if Moore did have something to do with Trevaline's disappearance, there could be more cases than Moore committed that may seem to have no connection to him. It's not entirely out of the question, but his MO does seem to suggest otherwise. I don't personally believe the old and young men have any connection whatsoever to Trevaline's disappearance, and so do the police, stating so on BBC's Crime Watch episodes of September 1990, believing they were just having a quick morning chat with Trevaline. They must have their reasons for not coming forward. Maybe they don't believe they have anything that could help the police, or simply don't want to be investigated for a crime they had nothing to do with. At the time of recording, Christopher Halliwell is currently not an official suspect, and the police are keeping an open mind due to his MO, which included snatching his victims quickly and taking them away from the area. Christopher Halliwell was a narrowboat canal beauty spot enthusiast and liked freshwater fishing, which can all be located in Llangollen, so he had reasons to visit, and living in Orton Park, he was only 39 to 40 minutes away by car. He originally started as a burglar who stole antiques. He matches the height and build, being 5'10" with a stocky build, and at the time of Trevaline's disappearance his hair was also light brown. There is a photo of Halliwell in a suit for a wedding which was taken in 1990, so we know he could dress smartly, and is believed to be left-handed, the same hand the mysterious man used to carry his briefcase. However, there are quite a few discrepancies I believe need to be pointed out. Halliwell's hair wasn't greying when he was in his mid to late 20s in 1990, although this could have been an eyewitness mistake. Also, his facial features don't really match the rendition of the mysterious man. His victims included 2 young females, one of which was a sex worker, and of the 3 women theorised to be Halliwell's victims as well were young sex workers, pointing to an MO targeting young female sex workers specifically. Although this does not mean that Trevaline is not one of Halliwell's victims, it's just important to point out so you can come to your own conclusions with all the facts at hand. On June 16th of this year, it will be 32 years since Trevaline was ever seen again, and still nowhere near close to solving what happened to her. The disappearance bewilders her family, friends, neighbours, and the folks of Llangollen, and the outsiders looking in. As of recording this, her younger brother Leonard Davis is still keeping Trevaline's memory alive. Remembering his sister on the 20th anniversary in 2010, he commented, "I cannot say you ever come to terms with it. You accept it. People you speak to have different ideas about what happened to her. Some say she might have just gone off, but I don't believe that at all. I have no idea what happened, but my opinion is she's been abducted." Unfortunately, Leonard is the last direct living relative of Trevaline. Unfortunately, her only son died of a heart attack in 1999, and sadly her husband Richard Evans passed away in Wrexham Mailer Hospital on the 27th of the 12th, 2014, at 83 years old, both never learning the truth of what happened to her. Mysterious disappearances such as these are incredibly difficult for detectives to solve. With a lack of witnesses, evidence and motive, a lot of these types of cases are eventually forgotten for decades. Videos and podcasts like these help keep the case fresh in people's minds and could potentially jog someone's memory. So hopefully we don't have to wait another decade to hear new information regarding these types of cases. Please, if you have any new information, big or small, regarding this case, call or text missing people on 116 000. On the 6th of September this year, Trevaline Evans would be 84 years old. Thank you so much for listening to the Unsettling True Crime Podcast. And as a thanks from us at Unsettling, if you check the description of this episode and follow the link, you'll be taken to a Google Doc used to document our research into this case. This includes a timeline of events, investigation information, evidence, suspects, sightings, any unusual developments, theories, maps, photos, and finally the script used for this episode. You will also be able to comment and share your theories or link any articles with important information we may have missed. This document also includes every website and news article used to build this case as well.